October 27th of the year 2008, and we got a few people here, and we're going to have a meeting, and welcome. Couple things have happened since our last meeting that are relevant to the world of public access that's coming out of my own life that I'd report, and something else that might be of interest to a number of people. One of the things is that what's a focusing event for all of the public access, Manhattan Neighborhood Network in the case of Manhattan, and then the other boroughs and so forth, is the franchising agreement. And those of you who may be viewing this may not realize, but public access is a very unique entity within the communication history of, I would say, the planet. And the thing that makes it really unique is the way it is financed. In my view, there's other things that make it unique, but it's financed in a very interesting and unique way. And that is that it got started with coaxial cable, and that was coming into existence technologically around about the year 1970. And the year 1970 was a magic time. You remember Malcolm X, you remember Vietnam, you remember Woodstock. There was something really important about that time. And that's also when cable was coming in. And in that context, there was considerable amount of influence and even quasi-power being able to exert it outside of the normal dialectic, which is there's two loci of power and influence generally in the world when we think about it. One is the private sector, and that's like private, corporate, profit. The other is government sector. It's called sometimes public sector, better said private sector, government sector, and that's tax ability, lawmaking, regulation, tax and spend, the Republicans might say, regulation, and that's in the governmental realm. And most all of the news is reported in that dialectic. You got the public sector, private sector, and everything's done. But in the context of that 1970 period, there was a considerable influence being able to be exerted by people from what is called the civil society. That is, from the citizens. A lot of NGOs and things are emerging. And one of the things that they were able to do was have an influence on communications. And the major source of communication that there was then was this new cable television coming, bringing abundant channel capacity and so forth. And also everybody, entrepreneurs, knew it was going to be like Lord Beaverbrook in England said of media entities, they're a license to print money. They're going to make money, a lot of money from it. And they were anxious to get the concession from the local authorities, in the case of New York, the mayor's office and so forth. So they were able to put it up to where instead of the corporations being able to retain all earnings from their activity, there was a little bit set aside within a pattern to where something like, I think it's capped out at about 5.5% of net of income, a net of tax earnings that the corporations have within the cable industry that's just building out their system. And that is money that is set aside for what they call PEG, public, educational, and governmental payback to the community for the cable companies that were able to build them. In the case of New York, it ends up, we've got Time Warner, RCN, and so forth here. And it's agreed to by all of the people across the country. We've got about 3,000 of these public access facilities across the country, and they are able to get what amounts to, well, it comes to really real, what Ed Dirksen would have called real money, because it's in the millions, and it makes it possible for them to have all their capital costs and their operating costs coming from payments made by the cable industry leaders, and they accept that within the cable industry, and now also Verizon accepts that they're coming in with BIOS and so forth, so that they have a unique way of financing it. It didn't apply to anything telegraph, telephone, any of the other communication, carrier pigeons, Pony Express, none of the other communications capability. Mr. Paley, when he built CBS and so forth, didn't have to make any obligation to set up an entity where they give multimedia production capability and distribution open to the people. the people, which is a very broad thing. It's very unique. And so the funds that they have in order to be able to set these up, and there's 3,000 of them across this country, and it's beginning to expand in Europe and so forth. And the interesting thing is the cable industry accepts that, and the courts accept that. That's what makes it unique. No other communications capability had this obligation to set up, to finance it. So that means it's open to anybody in New York. They can come and produce a program, and they don't have to make it a business. They don't have to make a nut in order to do it. Before there was that effectively in place, it would have taken on the minimum, I don't know, maybe $500, $600 to make an hour program within a cable studio. So you've already got an investment if you're going to do it. Now it's possible for the citizen to make programming, and it doesn't cost them anything other than the tape to record it on. That's very unique, and it could become a model for for other aspects of the society as well. Anyway, they're coming up to franchise time. They set up a franchise, and it's a 10 to 12 year template that's being established. And the person that's being negotiated by the mayor's office, the DO-IT, the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications, and that's represented by a man named Paul Cosgrave. He's negotiating that for the cable, for among other things, public access. And that's going to set the template for the public access entities in New York at an institutional level. And that's not going to come, we were thinking it would come in September, but it's not going to probably be finalized, that process, until about early February or so. But that's something that's developing, and I had done a program with him, and that's something that's developing here. There was a chance that he might have come here tonight to talk to us, to the public access producers. He's interested in doing that. He may be able to, at a later date, give a presentation. He's a cyber fellow, and that's very interesting. But that's to be put within a larger context. Anyway, there's a few of us here tonight. One other thing specifically I'd like to mention is we've just run into this entity that exists called Materials for the Arts. I don't know how many people know about that. But tomorrow night, they're celebrating their 30th anniversary. And it's an entity where it's 30 years, and they're going to have a 30-year celebration with Mr. Bloomberg in attendance. And the colors are going to provide the entertainment, as it were, at this event. And this is a place where they've gathered. It's a very interesting model because they get a very large thing out in Long Island City, and they have all kinds of donations on a very large scale, and all kinds of things. And they have them in a building out there, and if you're in a nonprofit status, 501c3 connected or something like that, you can go there, and you get a card, and you find what you need, and you get a shopping cart, and like you go to the A&P, and you put the things that you need that are on these shelves all over the place. You put it in your cart, you wheel up, and then you just take it, and everything is totally free. So M&Ns are signatory to that. So people that are M&N, we want to investigate. We were talking with Paul. We want to investigate that, how individuals that are at M&N could get access to that, because they have a lot of things. I was there with some friends the other day, and I needed terribly a U-matic deck that I could play some 3/4-inch tapes with, that I've got about 600-700 programs archived on this 3/4 U-matic format that's outdated now. And I just we're going to do a program with the executive director this Thursday. I think it's really an important model. She says that people are coming in from all over the world for a model to where they can get stuff to the arts community, or one could say to the people, and in a recycling kind of way. And that's something that producers might be aware of. And I went there, and on the shelf they had a U-matic deck. I've been trying like Dickens to find one, and here they had it there, and I brought it here. It works. And it was totally free of any cost. And they got a lot of other stuff there. They got electronic stuff, they got furniture, they got all kinds of stuff. And it's something that the producers at M&N should be aware of, because I think just by being a producer there, we'll have to investigate it.
Well, I have a 501c3.
Yeah, she has a 501c. The colors are a 501c3.
Great.
There's others. But it's just something that's really worthwhile because you can go out there and they've really got a lot of stuff. And the concept, they're coming in from Asia and Europe to get the model of how you can get stuff to the people. And it's a very interesting thing. So I just mentioned it as something relevant to, and I'm happy as a lark that I was able to find a U-matic deck that plays these tapes, and so we can get it up on YouTube, and it can all be done, and you can get the word out about, from things. Anyway, those are a couple little sidebar things that I did. I just wanted to introduce. Those are worthwhile. And Mr. Cosgrave is a good guy, I think, and things look very good. Also, one last little thing from me. I'm this interim president now. Been following the financial business that's going on now, and I'm very encouraged about the way the world is moving, even though it's a little hard to see and everything, but I think they're moving in the right direction. But that's something I'm really interested in. I think it ties into public access as an institution within the communication system, but public access should be vouchsafed. It's a very significant development in terms of the communications. And we got a group here, some people, and what I want to do right now, we got about 6, 7, 8 people here now, and what I want to do is with that brief introduction, let's introduce the people that are here, and they can go around and tell a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get back and talk about some of the issues that we begin to see are important on this October 27th of the era 2008. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Okay, so why don't you do me a favor? Don't go away. Don't go away. Well, hurry up. Get your cookie and then come back. Get your cookie and come back. We need your wisdom. Get your wisdom. So, why don't you, now, Paul?
I am working the camera here.
No. Oh, you want to work the camera? Okay, here.
Not especially. I don't actually know how to get it on the tripod. Is anybody more adept at putting this on the tripod?
It's a pain because then if you want to go around, you want to be close.
Yeah, maybe
to
we
the
want to
voice.
pass it around. Okay, well then why don't we start over here? Ken? No, come on. Come on. Tell us who you are. I don't know how directly you are. We're going to get you into public access. You
Give
get
it to
this.
Harold.
We're going
Let's give it
to
to
corral you in.
Fine. Got it?
Share a little bit of your background.
It's recording, so move it smoothly.
You'll be closer
Move it
to
smoothly.
it.
It is recording. Move it smoothly.
Well, good evening, folks. My name is Ken Aaron. I am a producer at M&N.
Okay.
I have a show that's named Ministry of Music. It's named after a small organization I've started, which is Ministry of Music and Arts at Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually composite of a choir, a praise team. These are live musicians and singers. My program started out of giving them a way to use their talents and also let more people in the city see what they can do, and it's like a new venue, opening their audience. And that's how I got to M&N, and I'm producing a program, as I said, called Mom Presents, Ministry of Music Presents.
Okay.
And I was introduced as one from meeting Buddy Illustrious Harold Tanner, and I'm glad to be here and meet your acquaintance.
How long has it been going, man? Yeah.
About 2 years.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
2 years now.
Okay.
And, with some
Very
luck
good.
to get bigger and better, and just as our abilities get bigger, contacts get better. I've watched other producers really grow from small shows to very good positions, and their shows have developed, their abilities have developed, and I'm looking to be one of those. Following behind you guys.
Welcome. Okay, next we're going to go to Coley, huh?
Yes.
Tell us about yourself, dear,
Well,
please.
I'm Coley.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here because I ran into Harold, and I ran into Josh Walensky, and I ran into a number of other folk over him, and with Cynthia McKinney, you brought her in for a press conference, and of course that expanded into a talk show, and I did a talk piece with Harold. And then I thought, well, what a wonderful idea, and they offered me the possibility of becoming a producer, and I thought, oh goodness, how many million will I have to put up for this, and I discovered it was free. So it's a way of, for me, of being able to take a lot of history, a lot of experience, a lot of unused talent and some old talents, and put them together with this idea of using media at another level. Usually I'm a person who does one-woman shows. I'm out speaking of gallivanting about, tearing up things, and trying to make a difference in the world. But now I can use this media called radio, television.
Television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Television, especially,
Yeah.
yes, use that media.
You used to hang out with Stokely.
Well, really just hang out
Oh,
with
yeah,
stuff.
they were deep good friends, yeah. And she was down in Mississippi in the
I'm
60s.
from Mississippi.
Do you
I
know
went down
Norman
there.
Curland? He was talking about working with Stokely Carmichael.
Who's this?
Norman Curland?
I probably have run across him. There's so many of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm early SNCC, so early Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I started out with Medgar Wiley Evers
Mhm.
as his special assistant. But I'm from Mississippi. I was a student in Mississippi, so I came to the battlefield from that direction. Of course, I've been a long journey, tearing up things.
Well, her story is very interesting.
If you want to make change, you got to tear up something.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is, and you said Eminem, I got to, your mom, I got to really work on my name again. I was thinking about Mama Time Productions. In fact, that's what I'm calling myself right now.
Mama Times Convict, okay.
Yeah, Mama Time Productions. And I'll be looking at issues that expand probably 6,000 years, but focusing on how we integrate that history, the folklore, the myth and legends, especially the urban myth, into where we are now in order to build a new literate group of young people in America, because that's my major focus. I am the national coordinator of Richard Wright Centennial, and this is his centennial year. And we're expanding that into 2010, when Julia, his daughter, will be bringing out her first major book. So we'll then end Richard Wright, but we should have a pretty solid literary base established across a broad genre by that time for young people. So I'm hoping to use this media for that, this medium,
Good.
to work on that and to deal with some more issues, because the young women from Sankofa's Daughters, which has been dealing with reconstructing and revitalizing young black women. And they're now about 500. They run a radio show. They're trying to figure out how do they utilize this new medium that I'm going to be coming into, and bringing them in to talk about issues of domestic violence, child rearing, and other kinds of issues that are concerned to young black women. And then, of course, there'll be a lot of preaching.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with preachers.
You think we might get a little gospel singing going on?
We might even
Yeah,
do a little
yeah,
gospel. Oh,
yeah.
Lord, yes, it might be
Yeah.
Yes, that's what he called me.
Yeah.
I will call you, brother. But, in other words, taking advantage of a lot of lost history here in the last 40 years. Most of the people who came through the civil rights movement are just about homeless, if they are not homeless. Very, very poor people who made some powerful contributions whose voices are now not heard anymore. And they have all kind of voices, a huge crew of powerful musical voices. Nancy Dawson out of Kentucky has now gathered the old freedom singers. And they've been traveling Turkey, and now she has a group of dancers. And Turkey about 5 times. Turkey is going to be very important in terms of the Africana experience from the USA.
Okay,
So
really?
it's that old European thing of bringing the blues musicians over so that they got the power from Europe rather than the USA. Except for my cousin Robert Johnson, he went the opposite route. He got his here. He was fortunate. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting ready to kick it off.
Could I ask you one thing? You've been going through the process by which you became a producer. You just went to orientation the other day.
The first orientation.
What's your read on it? Does it work well? Is the system, we got 50 people on staff, is it working well in terms of welcoming people in as producers? And what's your overall sense of it just coming in now?
Well, coming in the door, I think it was really wonderful. We had a wonderful young woman named Steffi who walked us through the process. Who make sure that all of our details were covered and questions answered. And in fact, she encouraged questions, which I thought was really good. So we kind of opened it up so that we got a flavor of it. The walkthrough, which I'd already got with you and with Josh, but the walkthrough, but breaking down each of the studios so we could see them.
So overall, you think it's okay, the way it works?
I think it's excellent.
Because one of the things ACAP can do is try to call attention to things that might be made better a little bit or something, or have some input to it. So I want you to keep your eye open on that as you progress, and keep making sure everything's operating most effectively as it possibly can. Okay.
I will definitely do that.
ombudsperson, like, you know, to that. That's one of the things we ought to try and do. Anyway, so good to see you, Coley. I'm so glad you got through that and everything, and I'm looking forward to when you do the first show. It's going to be any day
And
now.
thank you again for the invite and for showing me a new road.
Oh, well, okay. Now, how
I'm
about...
excited.
Okay, thanks, Coley. How about you, dear? Could you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, my name is Meredith Gardner, and like Coley, you say?
Yeah,
Coley.
Yes. I've been tearing up some,
Tear it up, girl.
I don't know whether it's people, places, things, and they say the higher you fly, the harder the fall.
Mm.
So I'm a new author. I'm a corporate psychologist, a trainer, and I've written a book where I've translated 36 Chinese characters into English. So I'm causing havoc with the Chinese community because they're not much thrilled that a white, middle-class American who doesn't read or write Chinese has written a book.
Interloper.
Yeah, I've teared it up. So I'm about values and ethics and bringing this especially to the corporate community. So that's my challenge of how to bring my interpretation of ancient wisdom to current corporations. And the words that I've translated really are about life anyway, but I've chosen the corporate context because that's what I know best.
Mhm.
Okay, words like loyalty, equanimity, listening, leadership, collaboration, stuff like that. So it's very exciting for me. In terms of M&N, I am technologically challenged. I don't have a technological chip. So when Josh suggested that I consider becoming a producer, I go, oh, you know. And I mean, I don't even know if I've opened the envelope because I know that the demands is too harsh a word, but the requirement is that we learn how to do the technical part and the editing. That's just not my thing. I'm more on air, hosting, like that.
Like
And I
in
would
front
love
of
to
the
host
camera. You would be
in
the...
front of the camera. And I can't imagine, and that's probably why I can't do it or won't do it, you know, to be doing the editing and the machinery and all of that kind of stuff. It's quite complicated.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of training. So I commend you. I just don't have that, so I really didn't even explore it. But perhaps there's a way where we can participate for those of us who would like to be active besides just being on air and hosting and being a guest, that there is, you know, that there are alternatives to offer us the participation without my saying, oh, I have to learn how to, you know, the control room.
That's
Heck
interesting.
no.
Yeah.
You know, so I could still participate, but not in.
You don't
for
want to be
example, I can't help you when you do a program. That's not my capability. I have other gifts, but not that.
Yeah.
And so I would invite people to look at alternative ways of getting participation to become a part of the community without necessarily going to the root, you know. And it's kind of like that in the corporate world, you know. There
Yeah.
are the individual contributors, and they don't want to be managers, but a lot of those people have to become managers because you get paid more. Well, here I'm suggesting that maybe you could brainstorm, and what do you do with people like me who want to participate, but I just don't want to go that particular route. There may be another one that could combine it.
Yeah,
and then you
that's
would
a
get
very
people like me.
That's very interesting. A lot of people don't want to have to learn how to become a video
I don't know
production.
if it's want to. I would
Or
love
they're
to,
not
but I
able-
don't have the technological capability.
You know, they used to have a place way the heck back in the 70s up on 125th. And it was way up in Harlem and everything. And then when they did that, it was teleprompter. It was way back in 1974.
Right.
And it used to be you'd go there to produce, and they just had people there doing the production. That's all. They didn't have to do that. You didn't have to learn all that and everything.
Yeah.
And so that's an interesting thing that might
See,
be
I think
something
that there are
we'd want to be
technical
concerned with.
people
Yeah.
whose interpersonal skills are terrible.
Yeah.
There are people whose interpersonal skills are okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they're technologically, handicapped.
Yeah.
And then there are the people in the middle.
Mhm.
So I could support you in a different way, not technology-wise, but in the organization, in the getting the guests, I can give back to you in that way,
Uh-huh.
and then we get other people who do what they do best.
That's an
I'm
interesting.
not technologically challenged, but I'm going to make myself
Well,
technological.
I think
Well-
it's wonderful. I just know my limitation,
Yeah,
and I just
all
don't
right.
even want to
I'm
put
jumping
myself
off.
in.
I'm jumping off the
Okay.
bridge.
I think that's fabulous.
Yeah,
I
you
support
you
in
raised
that.
a very interesting question about public access as a whole too.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I'd be thrilled to be on a brainstorming team to develop synergy around developing these new ways to involve people.
Well, that's
because
what
we
we're
don't
doing.
all-
Yeah, and that's what we're doing in ACAP, or trying to do, right?
Yes.
Listen, do me a favor, brother. You just visited from London, but can you move your chair over that way a little bit? And then we're going to come in and we want to hear from you a little bit. And I know it's kind of crazy because it's the first time ever, and he's got a couple years, I can tell by his demeanor or his appearance and everything, that he's ever been in the United States of America. He's only been here about 6 or 7 days or something. So could you introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about you? And this has to do with people who are involved in public access cable television production. I know, but could you talk a little bit about yourself?
Buongiorno,
Bo-
bonjour,
Mm.
Mera, and hello to the rest of the English speakers.
Try and speak up because the mic's here.
Buongiorno,
Uh-huh.
Mera,
Okay?
and to the rest, bonjour, monsieur, to the rest of the English-speaking world, I am Lee John.
Tell us your real name, please.
Giovanni Giuliano Devero Michelangelo Timberlino.
That's
Oh,
gorgeous. That's a
wonderful.
gorgeous name, man.
Well,
Music.
Yes, yes. We need a swelling music.
truncated to Lee John because my first rock manager said, go and get a name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the end, it really became a name because I had to register it because every time I tried to leave the country, the officials looked at my passport and looked at me, you are not Lee John. So, and what else would you like to know?
Well, you've been involved in pop music. You're a philosopher, and you're doing some writing and everything now.
Yes.
And you don't have any truck with television production, or have you done any television?
Yes, I have, and in fact I did quite a bit of work for what you would class as access television, but we class as the BBC, because this is a corporation that's funded by the taxpayers' money in Britain, and so therefore they have to give quite a lot of airtime to public access things that perhaps are not mandatory here.
With all due respect, across the ocean, across the pond, and we have CBS, NBC, BBS, we have all those things.
These are
But you
all-
have BBC. But do you have cable television much in England? And do they have?
all the television you have, but there is only one unique, as anybody that has been to London, England, will tell you, the BBC is not a commercial entity. There are no commercials, apart from the in-house BBC ones, of course. So therefore, it's completely outside of the concept of certainly any American, that there is an organisation that is completely non-commercial.
Yeah, but
And
cable grew out later in England, but you
Well,
don't have anything set aside for just the people. You know.
The BBC.
no,
is
the BBC
people
is a very
because
large.
They have to, with their taxes, pay for it.
Yeah, but the BBC is a large entity like PBS, and you've got
It seems not. It seems he's saying it's somewhat different than PBS or anything. we
Do you have
He
anything
said
like?
it includes
Of course it
public
is.
access.
That's the equivalent.
Richard Murdoch has Sky Television. That is a commercial organisation. Every other media that comes into the UK is a commercial organisation.
Yeah.
There is only one that is not, and that is the BBC, the British Broadcasting Company.
Okay. Do you have something called the Open University in
Yes.
Britain? What do you think of that?
BBC
That's
excellent.
BBC, yeah.
Excellent.
It is good, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, they have good
but
people.
This is the BBC. It is not a commercial enterprise.
If you have cable television in London, you turn it on, how many channels do you have?
How many do you
I mean,
want?
roughly, I mean, is it?
100, 200. How
It is.
many do you want to pay for?
Uh-huh, okay.
With the BBC, you only have the terrestrial, which is BBC One and BBC Two.
Mhm.
Now they have other channels which are completely outside of terrestrial. And no, in fact, they have channels that appear not to do anything, but they are there.
In the United States, about 85% of the program is done from cable. What is it in Britain? I got to answer that phone, so just to him.
The BBC.
Yeah.
This I do not know. Now, this is the kind of experience Lee John excels at. Here we have a camera with nobody motivating it. I could now
I'm asking you a
start
question. How many,
talking.
the BBC, do you
Yes,
have to pay?
Paula, sorry.
Do you have to pay terrestrial BBC? Does a poor person, can he watch BBC One and Two?
Sorry, Paula, I'm not grasping that.
The BBC
Yes.
One and Two terrestrial
Yes,
television.
yes.
Does that person have to, who watches it, does he have to pay? Does he have to
If he is a
subscribe?
British citizen, yes. What they do is pay a thing called the broadcasting license, which the government is mandatory.
No, the viewer,
The viewer.
the end user. What does he pay?
If
Just give me an
you
example. What does
if
he
you
pay?
go to London, it will cost you nothing. We pay for it.
Okay, no, I'm concerned with the British citizen. Just give me a number. How much does it cost to
You are
watch
concerned.
BBC One and Two?
You are concerned for or with the British.
I'm a New Yorker, we go fast. I'd like to get a concept. Give me a concept. If you just give me some numbers, what does it cost to watch BBC One and Two terrestrial TV versus those hundreds of others that you said how much do you want to pay?
My license at the moment for a year of the BBC would be the equivalent of, I think, 2,000 American dollars. They say it is not commercial, but that is what one adult in the United Kingdom is paying now, 2,008.
What about poor people that can't watch TV?
They have opt-out clauses, they have reductions, but even senior citizens have a reduction in their television license, but they are still required to pay something.
Are there a lot of British citizens that cannot afford any television?
The figures I do not know. One thing, could somebody answer the telephone? Or
No, that's
could we,
another telephone. It'll answer.
could we all have a philosophical discussion, Harold?
Yes, please.
About noises off left.
Yes,
It
right,
sounds very
right,
much
right.
like a telephone.
Oh, that was Central
I
Kent.
used to do a lot of impromptu theatre in London, so this is the kind of situation that I very much enjoy.
Uh-huh.
For everybody out there.
I'm glad you're having a good time.
Exactly. There are some people that can improvise and a lot that cannot. But Lee Yanni definitely is one of the improvisers.
All right, good. Okay,
You
George.
might take
Oh,
over again, Harold. Sorry.
no, I'm not taking over. It's just that thank you for that welcome. We just got to call Josh, your friend Josh Volinsky, who's everybody's friend. Producer extraordinary is on his way with a lovely lady.
Excellent.
You know she'll be an attraction.
I am here.
And they're trying to get here. I think they're having another bottle of wine or something, so, okay. Okay, thanks. Thanks. George, you want to say a word or two? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One thing you can do, the purpose of my visit to New York is to promote a philosophical novel of mine with a title, an acronym, UMOP-GI. UMOP-GI, Unpleasant Murders on Pleasant Creek Island.
Oh my gosh. And it's all...
Oh, your Lee John. I
Uh-huh.
am the creator.
All right. Well, we're looking for that. When will we see that? When will that be in the stores?
Well, depending on who and what publisher I decide to accept an offer from.
Okay.
But they will be American, which is why I'm being asked, and perhaps you Americans can tell me, I sat through 6 months of the Diana, Princess of Wales inquest.
Uh-huh. A lot of interest in that.
To theme more Diana into this action novel, action fiction, and I am told, I have no way of knowing, that the Americans very much like everything to do with Diana.
Iconic figure, yeah. We want to make sure you
definitely.
yeah, we want to make sure we get your card. How long are you in New York for now?
For your wonderful elections, and I hope you all get the president that you wish for.
Uh-huh.
So that takes me up to the 4th of November, and hopefully the following week, and then I should be on my way to Canada and other places far, far away.
You must be sure and give me your card.
I will.
And then we will keep you in touch with the Access movement here in the colonies,
Excellent.
okay?
I have a website,
Okay.
which is umop.com.
UMOP.
umop.com.
Okay,
The letter
okay.
U-M-O-P.
umopgi.com.
Okay, good deal. Now you'll be sure. I'll give you my card, you give me yours, and we'll make sure we do. So, welcome to New York and to the United States of America.
I must tell you, and this is unsolicited, I have had am having a wonderful time in
Yeah,
New York.
yeah.
Something I must, however, tell you which astonishes me in this day and age with instant information.
Yes.
2 weeks ago I was informed by an American friend of mine in America, go into any hardware store in New York and they will try and sell you a gun.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I have been into many hardware stores and there are no guns.
Uh-huh.
Yet,
Oh.
in this day of instant communication, myths like that are still going around London.
Well, you're trying to get a piece, are you? No, you
I'm
want a
trying-
piece,
I'm
huh?
trying to verify the
Is there anybody here can help him get a piece?
No.
Somebody here could help him get one. I think I know a couple people. You got $1 or two.
Harold, and for all of you out there in the alternative
Yeah.
universe, all of my research is done by me.
Uh-huh.
So when I tell you I was at the top of a Greek mountain and very nearly came to an abrupt end, I was there, I have the film, I have the dates and the time that it happened.
Okay.
So, when somebody tells me you can get a gun in any hardware store and I'm here, I check it out.
Uh-huh. And you have checked it out?
I have
How many
checked it out.
hardware stores have you been to trying to get a piece?
Say
Specifically in New York?
15 perhaps.
15. What do you want? You want a concealed weapon, a pistol that you can carry on your
I
person?
just want to walk into this mythical store that I was told of, where I will not ask for a gun, I will be asked, would you like to buy a gun?
Well, I mean, can't you just go in the store?
Maybe we're talking about.
Yeah, wait a minute. Collie's got the word here. Wait a minute. Collie, you give us the word. Well, how easy is it to get a gun in Mississippi?
Maybe we're talking about hardware. You know, then we better ask the question: what is a hardware store?
Yeah, that's true. Right.
I
Yeah.
think
That's
that
what they
maybe.
meant, hardware.
Well, the man's perplexed. He needs to get. He's got an unmet need.
Hammers, nails.
Are you sure they said,
Yeah.
did they say New York or in parts of America?
No. Because I was coming to specifically New York, yes.
He's pulling a
And
leg with something I don't know.
not you will have to ask, but they will ask. If I go to buy a hammer, they will then ask you, would you like a submachine gun?
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Just as you made a point of telling us that if there's something that you know about, you were actually there, you made a point
Yes.
of telling, this might be one of those times you might want to go back to that person and find out who is their source.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Might want to
Get a triple
But I
source.
think it's a question of language, though.
Yeah,
I think it's a language issue.
I think it is maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, they're roasting you.
Well,
No, I think it's language. I think it's language. I think it's a language. Like somebody said, I'll kick you to the curb.
Uh-huh.
And you know,
Uh-huh.
kids have wonderful new colorful language.
Yeah.
That's a bit like one.
It's hard to get,
Yeah.
So
it's hard to get guns.
if they told me hardware and I went in what was called a hardware store and I didn't see it,
well, to the British.
then I would have to look for the place that has hardware.
It's a
Uh-huh.
gun store.
To the British,
Probably
we
is.
also,
Underground way of
I
thing,
was
yeah.
told go to the drugstore, which we
Yes.
would call a chemist shop.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
I have only found one shop that is not called a pharmacy that actually has drugstore, but that is on the inside of the store, not the outside.
See, it takes somebody from outside to see these
even
things, doesn't
notice
it? Yeah, to notice. You don't
Yeah.
notice. We take it for
But there are
granted.
many that have
Yeah.
that same name,
Boots. They have a
drugstore.
chemist's boots, don't they?
Harold,
Yeah.
Can I share
Yeah.
this
Please,
with
please.
you and
Yes.
my alternative
It's a
universe?
wonderful.
You understand this is going to be up on YouTube for all the world to see. Is that okay?
On Mars.
Okay, yeah, it'll be on Mars soon. Yeah.
Anybody up on top of Mount Olympia and almost get killed.
No, we just wanted to let you know that you're talking to the whole wide world here. You're not just talking to us. You know, I mean, just it's not a closed room.
Universes, all are welcome. If I am the first author to be published on Mars, hello Mars.
Okay, somebody's got to do it.
I have
Yeah.
to share this with you.
Yes.
I was taken to breakfast early one morning and asked, would I like some grits? I said to my friend,
You know anything about that, Coley?
this is material we put on the road when it's icy.
Yes.
I do not think I would. So I politely declined grits and went back with a toasted blueberry muffin.
Oh, good. That's very safe. That's safe. Good for you. Good for you.
As has been observed, we are joined by a common language.
Yes.
But there are many nuances.
There are indeed. Are indeed. Yeah, and you.
Totally not to me.
Yeah, and you
I've
made
got
that
to
clear
introduce
to us.
grits and fish.
But you're going to be our.
You will never again want to put it on the road.
But you're going to.
You know, it belongs on the plate.
I am happy to accept any American invitation so long as I can say, you did that to me. I'll start turning green when I have these grits.
But you're going to be our point man in England for the access movement, okay? You willing to accept that? You're going to become one of the camaraderie here, okay? Welcome. Now, George, you want to say a word or two? George is a fixture at MNN.
Yes, sir. My name is George Sotorello. I'm a producer in M&M. By direct production, haven't produced anything in a couple of years. I help people out, and I hope M&M continues, and it's good that you're all here.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah.
And let me know about the tape.
There is a British word for that.
What?
Succinct.
Succinct and to the point.
Thank you
Pithy.
For, thank you for
Pithy.
The coffee. Thank you for the coffee and politics.
And tell her about the pie, George. How was the pie?
And I love the
That was the best apple
I
pie.
don't know what to do about the pie.
Yeah, eat it.
I did. I ate 2 slices already.
All right, Larry, you going to have something to say or not? He's over there behind the computer. Say something, Larry.
Yes,
Are you,
I'm writing this letter.
you ought to put it out, and you got the light. Turn the light off. See if that helps. Can you? That little light? See if that doesn't help.
No, it's from my face.
Yeah, okay. Okay, do it that way. The Boris Karloff. That's the Boris Karloff effect. Do it.
Can you
Oh,
see that?
yeah, there. Now you stand out. Yeah, it'll be a little
I'm
dark.
writing this email to this friend of mine. He's on a Greek island. I said, nice
Really?
seeing.
The Aegean Sea.
I said, nice seeing you in New York City. In fact, you are sitting right here in my front room, Monday the 27th of October, 08. And it says enter a code below, so the code is FARNET35. And I'm about to send it right now. So
Okay, send.
I'm sending it.
Mm-hmm.
Is your email hhchanner at
HHC at nyc.com, rr.com.
Is it HHC or
Yeah, Harold Hudson Channer.
Yeah.
The Hudson is from the Isle of Man.
Yeah, HHC.
HANER at nyc.rr.com.
That's correct. That's my email address.
Okay, well, we just sent it to this person,
Okay?
and we're going to see who it is we sent it
You don't even know who you sent it to. Another fine mess you got me into again, Larry?
to. Yes, it's
Yeah?
right here on the web,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you who it is. There's a picture of a guy with sunglasses, and he says, hello, here's another New York UD. For new loggers, what is UMOPGI and all about? UD will be posted this week, after I've had time to recover from jet lag, day lag. I left London on Wednesday, 1800, and arrived in New York City 8 hours later, and it was still Wednesday. The high volume of hills on the site. Anyways, he's in this beautiful Greek island. I wish I could show it to everybody else.
Boy, I wish we could be there maybe, huh? That's good. Talk to you a little bit about public access, Larry.
Okay, well.
What do you think?
I
Yeah.
started the world's first television show on the United Nations. It's called Inside the United Nations Global Issues, and the website is IAED.TV.
Right.
Okay. It's been on the air for 13 years. It exclusively interviews ambassadors, heads of state, heads of government, foreign ministers.
Say that again, IA?
IAED.org or .tv. Okay. I started the website because I'm an international consultant and I solve problems, and I was in the United Nations, and Boutros Ghali wanted to get television out, and so he asked Ted Turner. Ted Turner gave the United Nations $1 billion, which was wonderful, but Ted Turner would not put the United Nations on his CNN cable system. But that was okay because we took the $1 billion, we were happy. Then we invited ABC, NBC, the BBC, the ITN, and everybody else in global conferences at the United Nations, and we asked them, could you put this on TV? Like Harold Channer's friend, who put on the television for Washington, D.C.
I'm sorry, I don't know. What? I missed
Your friend who records all the Senate and the...
Brian Lamb.
Right.
Oh, the C-SPAN.
Yeah.
Or C-SPAN, yeah.
Yeah, so
He's
the
not
US
a
been
friend,
begging
but
for
he's an
doing that,
acquaintance.
and they couldn't get anybody to do it. So one day I said, after talking to this guy, Harold Channer, who you saw a little earlier and may see a little later, we need to put this on television. Harold Channer said, well, that's easy. I can help you do that. So if it wasn't for Harold Channer, I wouldn't have my television show. I owe that to Harold Channer, and the UN owes it to him also. And we've been providing that service for 13 years. And that's all we do.
Oh, there's a lot more. You could talk endlessly and everything, but thanks, Larry. Good to see you, and glad you got the computer working now?
Yeah, everything's working fine.
Great. Okay, well, now we got another wordsmith here, a theater man, but I'm not going to, I beg your pardon?
Excuse me, who was the other words?
No, this is the wordsmith. This, and you, of course, but him, he's, Paul, talk to the camera a little bit, but talk to the people too. Just, you're a stage person. He's of theater. Introduce yourself a little bit, but have a sense of the camera as well as the theatrical presentation, okay?
I got you.
Now go, you're the actor, go.
Hi everybody, I'm Paul Pirog. I do a show here. I'm a producer at M&M. My show is called Paul Pirog, Not Your President. It's a satirical performance activity. And I do a project called Word Space It, which is about how to work, how consciousness and words work together. This interests me a very great deal, and I'm very happy to be doing that. And here I am at this meeting with this worthwhile organization which can bring producers together to do various things that they think of doing. And I think that should be sufficient for this limited moment, so we can move around and get on to further business.
He's got a great deal to do, more you could say. You're involved with the colors, right?
Oh,
And you're theatrical.
all this is true, and I have various histories of activities, and the Color Project is a great show, which is special. I like the way they use the studio in such a wild and creative way, and I enjoy performing on their show.
You do. You perform really well, and you got that word space is really good. I think that's serious.
Further about that.
Yeah, that's serious.
And
yeah.
I appreciate your being able to discuss it with you, since you bring your understanding to it.
Yeah, it was really good. Well, okay, Paul. Thanks. And we got one. Okay, thank you, Paul, very much. And stage left. Here we are, Paula Gloria, new public access. MNN's own Paula Gloria. So talk a little bit into the camera.
Yes, I'm the queen of apple pie. I learned the recipe from my mother, and she learned it from her grandmother. And my grandmother lived to be 101.
All right.
So that's
Apple pie's the answer.
Yeah, it sounds
my
like it.
show's about spirituality and politics, but I also think that health is something I'm getting very interested in lately. I just found out last night there's 2,500 patented cures for cancer. We can't use the word cure. It's political. It's a political, not a medical decision. Carl Pearson, who's the great innovator of a 9/11 ballot initiative that included the Office of City Attorney General, Josh Walensky brokenheartedly told me that WBAI wanted to stay loyal to Les Jameson and didn't allow a discussion with Carl Pearson. But Carl told me that this problem with, say, cancer, I said, you know, if you tell somebody they've got cancer and it's not legal to use the word cure, you're already straight away disheartening when there's no reason to be disheartening. And he said that it's a political and not a medical decision because the courts are advised by peer-reviewed institutions, and Harold and I already know from the economic paradigms that aren't keeping up with technology that these institutions are failing. But Carl Pearson, being the very innovative attorney that he is for the people, he went to Harvard Law School but didn't even go to high school. So he finds, you know, ways around. He said that there are ways around those barriers. Like you could have people out petitioning, say in the case of breast cancer, you could collect petitions for breast cancer awareness and then say, by the way, do you know that we can't use the word cure? And then let's just, you know, collect signatures and to go whatever the legal process is. And then while you're doing that, you would also have an opportunity to tell a woman about some other modalities that could easily save her life. I'm presently interested in some high-tech methods that are very underground because the people are afraid that their laboratories are going to be heard by the authorities because of this political and not medical decision. And there's also low-tech methods, and one is a helicopter mechanic who was making jewelry, picked up some rocks in Colorado, and women started saying that tumors were going down by wearing them. So he analyzed them and found that they were very low-grade radiation, very soft, you know, nothing like the chemo. And it turns out that our bodies are starved for a little bit of radiation. And since he's Porter Cherokee, qualifies to be a medicine man. And medicine men, under whatever the act is that we have the U.S. government agreement with the Indian nations, means that a medicine man can heal with plants, feathers, and stones. So this is my kind of guy. You know, he's very, you know, in his place, which is just essentially cutting rocks and polishing. You know, they're fervently going about it. The sign above says, because people are dying. So he doesn't have time to do the research, the documents. There's actually 3,000 studies done on radiation hormesis, which was active in the 20s and 30s. But after World War II, which of course Nico helped, I've done 9/11 research, and the advanced weaponry that brought down the towers turned them into talcum powder in 11 seconds. He was saying that you need wars to introduce new technologies. Well, it seems as though, along with all the suffering of World War II, the other thing came was a stigma against radiation. So we're so afraid of radiation that we don't even consider that houses with radon, actually the people are living longer. And so it goes on and on. It's just so interesting. So I'm going to be working with Jane Goldberg. She has the La Casa Day Spa, and that's only a couple blocks down from where I live. And that was my fervent prayer because I'm so grateful for my daily show, which follows Harold on MNN. I'm so grateful for my thousands of hits a day on YouTube. But it's not the same as what we're doing right now, which is physically sitting together, where I can take my tooth out and show Harold you know, other dental solutions.
You used to have a program, The Whole Tooth, right?
I used to have a show called The Whole Tooth. It was about holistic dentistry, based on my journey with a root, trying to avoid root canals, and holistic dentistry, that our teeth are like antenna to different organs. And so what you want to do is, if a tooth comes out, you don't want to disturb or plug up what's going on to that organ. That's looking at that more from the from an acupuncture point of view. And then I stopped for a couple of years, and then I went to India for 4 years, came back, started a show based on my 4 years in India, and I called it Farther Down the Rabbit Hole, and I was really adamant about how Jesus did the healings. So I would introduce outrageous concepts because a lot of the educated New Yorkers don't want to think that this might be a science, how Jesus did the miracles, or that when he said we would do greater things, that he really meant it, you know. And so people would call me up and challenge it, and I don't blame them. And then I did realize, but I got recorded because of my adherence to Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication.
Right.
I would tell my viewers that we need to stay in connection with some of the crank callers. Well, the crank callers apparently were from Howard Stern, and they found my, really wanting to hang on and figure out, why they were so sick, to be really hilarious. So they recorded me, and eventually I wound up on Howard Stern's show. And every now and then I do a special called Total Penetration.
Yeah.
And total penetration has to do with during 9/11, we saw computer-generated images. We saw an airplane coming one side of the building and go out the other. It's totally impossible. It could only happen in cartoon special effects. So it's very frightening when we think that media is showing us things that aren't true, and it's galvanizing entire political directions. Recently, I interviewed a lady who put out a film about the Gujarat riots against the Muslims and Hindus. Very, very well done documentary, or feature-length movie. And there's one part where the Muslim music teacher, he just doesn't look at TV. And so he always has sort of this love in his heart. He can't believe this is happening. And his servant cuts his finger and goes to the hospital. And while his servant's gone, the maestro looks at these images, and he's just like ruined. He believes in the hatred, and his servant comes back and he goes, when people like you have given up, what about the rest of us? So when I told her that even New Yorkers didn't see the correct images on 9/11, and that media is not necessarily informing you, but could be disinforming you, then I think public access is very, very important. And I think we should really ask tough questions and encourage each other to ask tough questions and grieve with each other when we're not getting the answers. I have a tape that I'm hoping George Soterelis
God bless
will
him.
submit, because John Galino's in Puerto Rico right now, and he just called in, and Webster Tarpley, who's an expert on international terrorism and fascism, the rise of fascism, he lived through sort of a left liberal cover of everything is all, let's be nice and let's be kind, to where essentially thugs came in. He locked the doors to keep the channels at MNN going.
On 9/11, you're saying.
On 9/11, the question is, who came in, who was telling him to shut down the channels? Because we don't know really who runs MNN, because that's hidden, and I think it's hidden because it's so wealthy, and they don't want people to know whoever they is. I mean, my fervent desire is for some capital ownership, some type of ESOP ownership in this lucrative cable license. And the man that I'd love to do a show with, I'd love to have you on my show, and we'll have Norman Curling call in, because he worked in the civil rights, and I think older people are so valuable. I wish them to live 300 years so we can understand their experience, and we don't have to be discouraged or just depressed, but to stand on the shoulders of giants. And Norman Curland helped to do ESOPs in, I think, one company in Egypt, where the owners actually, the workers actually have capital ownership. Whether they work or not, they are going to be entitled to the wealth that will accrue. And since technology has increased logarithmically, it's ridiculous to talk about distributing wealth through jobs. We should all participate in the capital ownership of the technology that we have.
We should join Dr. King and talk about redefining the value of the work.
Okay, wait a minute, okay. Go on, talk.
Martin King talks about redefining values all the time, that America needed to redefine its values. And that if you enter a cybernetic age, it's a lack of common sense to talk about work as we define work now. And so with the mass unemployment coming, all these other issues that are rising out of the fact that industry is in fact dead, then what do we do in terms of creating a livable, sustainable lifestyle based out of a sense of dignity? Because
But the abundance is tremendous. Let me just give you one last
Sure.
thing.
That's a huge subject.
Yes.
No, but
go on.
last night I discovered it was more of a high-tech cancer kind of thing going, but in this deeper discussion, there weren't that many people. And I said to Jane Goldberg, we've been working with more, I said, don't worry about it, we're going to get it on the internet. It turns out that a human being can transmute elements. So that if you put someone on glucose for months, you can't explain how out of their urine you are getting certain elements, certain heavy metals and things like that. Where is it coming from? So that means that the human body is generating something from within itself. So if that can be done physically, and if science is not informing us correctly of that process, what else can we do if we really learn how to connect with each other? I mean, we can have a civilization that's unthought of, where we take the different cultures that we've had, you know, like I said with apple pie, my mom taught me, her mom taught her. How many things did my grandmother not know because she didn't know your grandmother? You know, but now we can take the legacy of our backgrounds. If we don't sort of go all new agey and pretend that we're all the same, not pretend we're all the same, but really honor how we're different and use that to create some type of alchemy, to create something we haven't seen before. And that's what excites me.
Well, maybe
And that's
someone
why
who-
John kept the stations open. He didn't care who the thugs were. He locked the doors, and he kept the station. He kept it on.
Wonderful.
Technically, there was no reason for it to be shut down. Why was it shut down? Why, on 9/11, it was shut down. On 9/12, he came in. Anthony Riddle called him up from D.C. and said, "Keep the station going." And he said, "God bless you." He did. And these people kept coming in by twos, and he had 6 of them. And it was intense. So he's a kind of person I think we'll never forget that. And
Yes.
I'm really touched that I even learned about this experience. And
I have to get the
I'm
phone.
excited about working
This
with
is over.
everybody.
Stop it. Put a new tape in.
Even
Will you?
going to
You know
the
how?
Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, see, that might be.
Certainly,
What
the music.
role
the
does
music,
yoga
the music
play
is
in
what
it?
I would say.
Oh, wait,
What
yeah,
role
no,
does
no,
what?
well,
You're very big in yoga too, aren't you?
Oh, yoga?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. You
But
mean
you
like
teach it too,
meditation?
Don't you teach it too?
A little bit. I teach more Alexander work.